Hello guys, have you ever been in a situation like this? Yeah, Dragonfly is obviously no fun to deal with, but in today's video I'm going to be doing a guide on how to easily kill her using two methods, both of them easily achievable before the first winter starts. I'm going to be covering both methods in detail, including all the necessary gear and items to kill her. I'm also going to be including the whole footage of the fight while giving useful tips that you can utilize. So with that, let's dive right into the first method, which is going to be kiting Dragonfly. I'm also going to be using Wilson, since if Wilson can do it, any character can. So step number one is going to be armor. Now the amount of armor that you're going to need is going to rely on how well you can kite Dragonfly, although I would always recommend bringing more armor than you need. Now in this video I'm going to be using 5 football helmets and 5 long suits, which is really up to you. You can bring more if you want to feel safe, and I would also recommend you to craft full sight armor if you have the resources for that. Now the second important thing is going to be choosing the right weapon. So in this guide I'm going to be using a handbat since it's the simpler option and very beginner friendly. Now, if you do have the resources, you can also craft a dark sword, but you're gonna need more of those. But yeah, I'm gonna stick to a handbat for the sake of the video. Another very important item is gonna be a pan flute, so we're gonna be using that just in case Dragonfly gets enraged, which I'm gonna explain in the run. Having a light source is going to be very important because this fight can drag for a long time, so you want to survive the night. Now you can use a lantern or a fire pit, but I recommend using a starcaller staff because the light radius of a starcaller staff is just so huge. It's going to make it much easier for you. And lastly, we're going to need some healing food. So you can use pierogi for 40 health, dragon pies for 40 health as well, and if you want to go for a cheaper option, trail mix for 30. So we're going to be building an arena, which is going to be very simple. So you want to take around 40 walls, and we're going to start building a giant stone wall. Now, as you can see on the map, we're building so that all the other magma pools are exactly above our stone wall, and we're going to extend it 20 blocks left and 20 blocks right. I also recommend using speed boosts, but I'm not going to be using them in this video just to prove that this fight is completely possible without any speed boosts, like for example a walking cane or a magiluminescence. And that's pretty much it. All we need to do now is to equip all our gear, and let's go fight Dragonfly. So step number one, as you can see, is going to be aggroing her, and then we're going to lead her behind the wall. Now she's going to hit you once or twice, which is fine, and then we're going to start the actual kiting. Now the kiting pattern for Dragonfly is actually very simple yet tricky. So you want to do 6 hits and dodge, but it doesn't end there. Now, it is obvious that if you do too many hits, so for example 7, you're not going to have enough time to run away from her and she's going to hit you with her attack. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that if you dodge early, you're going to be safer, because that's exactly the opposite case. If you do 5 attacks or less and then you dodge, she's actually going to start following you. She's not going to initiate an attack and miss you. She's going to slide forward and hit you while moving, which is the worst thing that can happen. So one of the things that can help you is additional movement speed. So as you can see in this clip, I'm using the path to give myself a little bit of a speed bonus. As you can see, after dealing a decent amount of damage to Dragonfly, she's gonna go and she's gonna start spawning her minions. Now, these minions spawn from the lava ponds, and this is where our wall comes into play. Now, as you can see, these minions are trying to go for us, but since the wall is there and it's considered an obstacle, they're trying to take the shortest path, which is through the magma pond, since they don't register it as an obstacle. So we're basically using this strategy to make them stuck on the wall so that we can fight only Dragonfly. From now on, it's basically just rinse and repeat. So you want to kite Dragonfly, and then she's going to leave to spawn Lave, and you're going to do the same thing over and over. Now, something that can happen is that when all her minions die, she can become enraged, which is obviously something that we're trying to avoid. So if she does become enraged, we're simply just gonna step aside and play a pan flute after she attacks, which is gonna reset her to her normal state. So that's basically everything you need to know, and the rest of the fight is, like I said, just rinse and repeat. So I'm gonna speed up the footage and then show you the actual kill. So after the long fight and chipping away her health with some consistency, you're eventually gonna kill her and obtain all the juicy loot. Now method number 2 is gonna be tanking Dragonfly, but I only recommend doing this if you're playing a damage multiplier character, like for example Wolfgang or Wanda, or if you're playing with a team of more people. Now, the strategy to counter her minions is going to be the exact same as with the kiting method, so we're just going to build walls and we're going to get to the preparations. Now, tanking Dragonfly is going to require us to have much more armor, so I'd recommend using marble suits in combination with football helmets to have the most armor possible. I also recommend using dark swords to have the highest damage output. I'm also going to be casting a Starcaller staff so that we have good visibility during the whole fight. And with that, we can start the fight. So you want to make sure you're mighty, you want to equip all the equipment, and you want to start fighting Dragonfly. Now, after pulling Dragonfly behind your wall, you're simply just going to start holding the attack button. The fun part is, if you're playing Wolfgang, or if you're in a team of more people, you're going to have such a high damage output that you're going to knock her out, which is going to allow you to do more damage. As a bonus, she's going to drop one more additional scale, which we can use in crafting recipes. Now, the rest of the fight is just rinse and repeat, so if she does get enraged, make sure to use your pan flute while occasionally healing, and just continue dealing damage to her. Now, I recommend unequipping your dark sword while she's spawning minions, because it does drain her sanity and fighting shadow monsters isn't gonna help. After a pretty short fight, you're gonna be able to kill her, so let's go take a look at some of the loot and crafting. Now, Dragonfly has some really good loot, so she's gonna drop a ton of gems, but mainly she's gonna drop a scaled furnace blueprint, which we can use to craft a scaled furnace out of 2 red gems, a scale, and 10 charcoal. This furnace gives infinite heat and light, and even allows you to destroy items. So that's gonna be it for today's guide. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it in some way helpful. If so, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more guides like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel.